Hi my friends, in order to save our times and considering that this morning customer canceled the meeting that I have, uh, I thought it could be a good idea to give you a very short video about what I meant yesterday into my emails when I talked about what it does mean to align 100% an Allegro CAD projects converted in Altium. So very shortly, let's use the one that I sent yesterday. So the one based on Dart, the Dart, the Dart MX8M version 1.4. So this is the conversion. This is what I meant has not to be a completely aligned project. What about netlist? About netlist, it's not a problem because, of course, being a semi-automatic conversion, of course, I do not expect that any routes cannot be unrouted or it can generates any issues. So if I try to compare to netlist, the electrical netlist with the layout netlist, I expect that I will find zero unrouted, and this is so because let me just do it as a check. If I do it now, design rule check. In the design rule check in Altium there are many things that you can do, many customizations, but this is not the case. I just want to show you what does it mean to align the design. So let me focus on that. In this moment let me put everything inside this check. Let's do the check, and for sure you will see that many errors will be generated, but let me just take focus on the unrouted net 0. So in this moment he relieved that every net has been correctly routed and there are no problems about that. But if we go back to that check, let me do it now, not this one. What is the other one? Not this one. Maybe it could be better. Okay. If I go back to this check, I can see that there are a lot of clearance constraint check. There are width constraint check and so on. But in this moment, this is limited to 500 because if I try to correct some one of them, believe me, many other errors will appear. What does it mean, this? This means that, as I reported in my previous email, what is important to align are what in ORCAD you used to call constraints. So if I switch to the ORCAD design, what I converted in Altium, you can see, and you know better than me, that there are many loaded constraints. All these constraints, as far as I know, is not possible to convert automatically in Altium. So when you make a design rule check, he uses the default constraints, and of course in that case you will have a lot of problems, a lot of errors. And so let me show you. In this case, if I go here and I try to see what are the constraints preloaded for the conversion, there are standard, there are the default value. For this reason, of course, if I exclude this check from the comparison, they will not generate errors. But if I want to use everything, of course I will have errors. So as far as I know, to align all the constraints, so differential pairs, width of the nets, differentiations in group for the nets, and so on, you need to do it manually. There's no other way. And for that reason, more or less, I think that for a board like this you need something like 1 week to obtain something perfectly aligned. More than that, let me show you something that has been realized in the 100%, let me say, alignment. And this is the Amber. The Amber has been developed the first time in Allegro as well. But for the Amber, I operated 100% conversion. In this case, so if I do the check, the same check that I did before, let me do the same one. Of course, in this case, you can see that you have all the constraints loaded in the right way. But beside that, let me do the check with the electrical schemes. You will see anyway some errors, but this is because I know of that and I control them. But let me show you. You will see that, of course, there are some errors anyway, but they are under control. They are constrained on some pads, mechanical pads that I perfectly know they exist. Of course, I can report to zero even this, but considering this is a project realized just for myself, I prefer to maintain this value so I can control what is happening around this mechanical stuff. But for all the other constraints, you can see that there are 0, 0, 0, because everything has been aligned. More than that, you can see that another reason why many customers, first of all in the United States but also in Europe in the last years, the break-even has been exceeded in advantage of Altium beside Allegro. Many people like Altium because of the 3D properties. The 3D properties for the Altium are for sure in our consideration better than ORCAD. Some other many people find Altium easier approach than Allegro. Of course, there are also people that prefer Allegro, but in the last years, let me report to you that number of people who are switching to Altium are always more and more. So what about the alignment job? The alignment job, as I told you, first of all is the constraints alignment, but it's not only. Let me show you something else. This is the automatic conversion. You can see that there are some mechanical stuffs that have been not exactly converted, so you have to operate manually to align every one of them. Even about the copper area. For the copper area, considering that they have been converted physically, if you pour them, you will see that everything is perfectly aligned with the ORCAD design. But if you need to repour them and so to define the borders of all the copper areas, it would be better to trace them again. And considering that for a board like this there are not few copper areas but more, even this job it's an important job. Another thing is the silk screen. If I show the silk screen, you can see it's a mess. In this case it's a mess, but if I switch to the aligned one, let me show you in 2D standard. Let me then, in this way you will see that everything is perfect, and even to align the silk screen text and logo and other stuff like that, believe me, it's an important job. For a board like an Amber, as far as I remember, it has been for me something like 1 day. So considering all this stuff, you have to consider that some days for sure is very important to, it's a needs, it's a must to have the perfect alignment. But beside this, let me tell you that I do not think this is so important. Of course, even giving to the customer a project like this, don't be worried, brothers. I'm not under coronavirus issue in this moment. Just drank something while speaking. And if you consider this job, okay, everyone who is a technical person who normally route a board like this, I think that at least 3 weeks, but even more, someone is reporting me that even 5 weeks are saved when you transmit something like this than nothing. So my opinion is that the better is to limit our conversion to a roughly conversion like this, and just in case where it would be very important for us to get a very aligned conversion. In that case, we can consider that and can do it just for that customer. But generally, in most of my cases, what I can see that to provide them a conversion like this, so a roughly conversion, semi-automatic conversion, where anyway you have no issues about netlist, but of course is not perfectly aligned. In many cases, people are very happy for this, even if not 100% aligned. Thank you, and last but not least, this is very short video realized without any previous preparation, and this is just for us, so please do not forward to anyone. It's just to give you a feeling about what I meant during my emails about Allegro to Altium conversion. Thank you and have a nice day.